Agada.
Mbijan raganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyinji.
Okay. Korsa. Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka. Mbare ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birin koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolong labe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jang.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere to. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nim kodi maraw. Jannam number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma ni domorol di fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e binaji.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
For the first time in the history of the Gambia, Gambia Printing Publishing Corporation proudly introduces the Biliomatic exercise book printing machine. The machine has the capacity to print more than 20,000 books per hour. Yes, 20,000 books per hour. It also prints magazines, newspapers, calendars, flyers, normal books and all kinds of printed documents plus items at affordable prices. With the Biliomatic printing machine, GPPC can now render high-quality and non-size restricted printing service supply across the sub-region. Rush now and partner with GPPC for all your public and private printing service needs. Print with us today and you'd be offered highly professional, reliable and efficient service delivery by our team of experts. The Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation is here to meet all demands and is reliable at all times. For more info, contact us on 437-4493 or 437-4402. GPPC is Gambian and it's yours.
Hello and welcome. First of all, Happy New Year to everybody watching us wherever you may be. And thank you once again for being a fan of the brunch over the last 12 months. I'm Lamin Cham, welcoming you once again. I hope it will be another eventful year with the Gambia government announcing that there is going to be a referendum on the new constitution that everyone hopes will now come back to life. President also talked about many other important things in his New Year message that he's looking forward to in 2024. Now, today, of course, most of our work will be looking back on events of 2023. And with me in the studio to do that, I welcome from the diaspora, United States, a very active Gambian Affairs member and founder of Gainago, Demba Balde. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. And retired civil servant Lamin Koma is here. He is well known for his famous articles frequently on the team he called Thinking Aloud. Mr. Koma, welcome.
Thank you very much and Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you. We will revisit some of your things that you were thinking very aloud about, I hope. But first, let's welcome Mr. Balde. And I want us to do these for my late mentor, I would call it Matthew K. Jallow, who passed away only day before yesterday, which is yesterday actually,
yes,
in the United States. I knew Matthew Jallow back in 1992 at the Daily Observer, where he inspired me a lot with his prolific writing styles, feature writing. He's very knowledgeable and insightful conversations about the country, about developments, areas, about his life, and about generally about Gambian affairs. I learned a lot from him. And when he went into the struggle, that is the struggle against the dictatorship, of course, Matthew Jallow, we all remember, he wrote extensively about the abuses that occurred on the former president, Yahya Jammeh. In fact, in the later part, Matthew was jointly accused for treason alongside Ndaitafa Sose, journalist, and Scatred Jani, Amadou Jani. They were accused of distributing what the government of Yahya Jammeh then called seditious materials. Sometime in 2015, thereabout. Matthew was sentenced in absentia, I guess, because so was Scatred and Ndaitafa. Of course, Matthew has been looking forward to come to the Gambia after being away all those years since the mid-1990s. But of course, man proposes, God decides. God has decided that Matthew would never come back to the Gambia. He passed away shortly, and we extend our condolences to everyone who knew Matthew Jallow since back in his days at Action Aid and the FFXC days, and his days as a very active activist here in the Gambia. Mr. Balde, you knew Matthew. In fact, you are a relative. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, Uncle Matthew's loss is definitely it's a devastating loss for all of us and for for the entire country. I was really shocked. I mean, I'm very close to Uncle Matthew. He was one of the most dynamic writers and human rights activists and fighters in our struggle. Yeah, I mean, I last saw him about perhaps a little over a month ago. I went to visit him in Madison, when I went to my sister's husband's passing. And I went to visit him, and he was still the same dynamic, Matthew Jallow, really very passionate about the country. Matthew's, I wrote on Facebook that his fingerprints are all over, the struggle. He was, one of the most dynamic people that we had in the struggle, and he did not care whether you supported him or you don't support him. He was just, he believed in what he did. He petitioned higher institutions, the UN Secretary General, the United Nations, National. I mean, he petitioned high institutions in around the world to bring Gambia's plight to their doorsteps, to their attention. So, I mean, Matthew's passing, it's a great loss. I mean, it's really one of the saddest things that I say all the time is like, such a brilliant individual like him. His talent has never been fully utilized for this, for the betterment of this country. So we're deeply sad. He did work
for FFXC and Axonet. I remember him telling me that some of those seed stores that were built in the Kiangs, including my father's origins village, Kolior, he told me, were built by FFXC when he was there.
Yes, and in fact, he was one of the first directors of Action Aid. Yeah. He built out a lot of schools in this country. He knew the country from Koina to Kato.
Absolutely.
In fact, recently he wrote he resurfaced an article that he wrote reviewing about the country. I mean, just describing you know, how the country was before and how it is now and how it was changing over
read.
time. I mean, interesting read. I mean, I just shared it on Facebook, and I wrote to him and I said, I wish that, you know, you would come back to this country again and just give us a final review of, you know, what do you think about this country and what happened really, the way he was describing it. It's just and he said to me, I mean, you know, inshallah, I would, you know, I'm planning on coming back and just
exchange mails with him less than a week exactly ago when he posted something that I told him this cannot be Saragaina, but that was his village, and he replied privately to say, no, this was Madison. Then I asked him, I said, well, why don't you consider coming back now? He said, before you know, I'll be there.
Yes.
But then, of course...
he was a true Gainako, really. He was a true Gainako. Very proud of this country.
Excellent.
You know, he fought to the last minute for this country. Even his post a few days ago said that Gambians fought, you know, up to this level. But what happens after? He was actually planning on writing a post-mortem.
Yes.
A post-mortem review.
He actually authored a book. Remind me again.
Exactly. Yes. Anthology of an African Dissident. Exiled African Dissident.
You read the book?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I read the book. It was all about the struggle. You know, Matthew was one of the most dynamic writers during the struggle. He documented everything.
Absolutely, yes.
On the struggle. In fact, I call him the TRRC before a commission was set up.
Yeah.
You know, he documented all the arrests, all the disappearances, all the tortures, all the alleged
included, and he was so up to date. Because even my own arrest, he put in there. He was the one who talked about, and really anybody talk about that. The case of Boy Ba, one Boy Ba, who worked was at this Observer newspaper then.
Exactly.
I mean, he died, and Matthew had always believed that his death was mysterious and suspicious.
Yes.
So he was the one who will document that. You know, those kind of things that people have not heard of. Yeah. No, he did tremendously well.
No, I recommend people to, you know, order his book and then read it. It should be on Amazon. You know, again, it's Anthology of an Exiled African, you know, an exiled African Dissident. It's just, you know, and underneath there he wrote how you know, a struggle toppled a dictatorship.
Yeah.
You know, it was just it's a fantastic read, and Dr. Sen did a review of it as well. I recommend, you know, reading the book because it was like a movie, right? Yeah. He documented stuff that was happening in life.
I knew his style of writing.
Yes, you know.
Mr. Komba, you probably been a civil servant in the 70s and 80s. You definitely must cross paths with Matthew.
Actually, my condolences to the family. He was a schoolmate actually at St. Augustine's.
There you go.
And I haven't seen him for ages, quite frankly. But his presence was everywhere, especially in the social media. And I used to follow him a lot. In fact, he used to correspond with a friend of mine called Dembo Fantaboya.
Oh yes, Dembo Fanta, yes. They often exchange things.
Exactly.
He's always exchanging. Yeah, I remember now on Facebook.
Yeah, they were always teasing each other. So when I saw this, I was really shocked because it was very sudden that he just passed away. But as he said, his presence in the struggle is everywhere. He's recognized by almost everybody else. And it will be interesting to read that book, really, quite frankly, because it should be one of the archives of what happened in the past. And he was a prolific writer. He was a good writer, very creative, and you know, to the point. So for that I think we'll miss him, not only for his writings, but for his dedication to the liberation of this country, really. And that is something. And I think it should have a national recognition.
Absolutely.
If possible, really. Quite
he obviously, like I said, he was charged along with scattered charges with treason, you know, for distributing what the government then called seditious materials and for belonging to organizations that God knows what Jammeh called them. And you know, and all this, he had never lost his passion in the fight against dictatorship.
Yes.
And whenever he wrote as a patriot. He always write with a patriotism. He doesn't discriminate. He didn't know tribalism. He was that type of person. He didn't know tribalism because he said in his life he dealt with everybody. He's lost really a very sad thing.
No, he butt heads with a lot of people on the struggle because he was very, very passionate for what he did.
Exactly.
You know, so you know, for him there was no compromise. It's like, you know, I mean, you know, this is things that it is this way. This is how we're supposed to fight this. You know, and you know, so I call him misunderstood a lot of the times because of his passion and because of his love for the country and because of his aspiration for quality.
Absolutely.
I mean, he always wanted people to raise their standards. In fact, a lot of diaspora organizations. Matthew was behind forming those. The CSOs, you know, him and Bankamane, and you know, obviously Leitava and others. You know, he was really somebody who wanted to mobilize.
Yeah.
You know, one time he was actually, you know, I was president of the Gambia Press Union, USA.
USA, right.
He actually took over from me.
Yeah.
You know, he was a very, very passionate journalist as well, as you know, as we've read. But just his passing is just a great loss. My condolences to his family, his daughters.
Yes, every
you know,
Gambian
beautiful, and every Gambian for that
his
matter. You know,
was really. Khalid. All
Thank
right, let's go on now to brass task now and review the year. Well, according to our view, our perspective of the year. Mr. Koma, what stood out most for you in the past year in terms of political or economic development in the country? Okay, there was also problems with security. We had a shooting incident involving security this thing. We also had the Aki case, that is children, what actually started late in last year, late 2022, that is, and several other things. How would you think, especially in the livelihood of the people of the Gambia, the governance sector? We had the elections in the local governments, and we also had the crisis in the local government, that is between the central government and local government. We have the local government commission, you having expertise in these areas. Plus, major things that happen in the year. How do you review the year?
Well, I think the two most outstanding issues are in the latter part of the year. That is the budget estimates, which has been very controversial for everybody else, and also the issue between the struggle between government and some of the local area councils. I think that stood out a lot, and it also affects our governance, our record on governance, the democratic dispensation, and also our spending spree as far as government is concerned. And if you look at it from the economics point of view, I don't think we are doing very well, because the poverty rate is increasing. Everything, we have all the statistics going bad. The poverty rate is increasing. We have had about 48%, now it's something like 53 point something, and in the rural areas it's as high as 76%. So it's always increasing. Just last year alone, the number of people classified as poor is about 33,000. That's quite a lot. Then if you come to inflation...
300,000 or 33,000?
33,000 just in 1 year. That
in
is
1 year?
Yeah,
okay.
Increase in 1 year.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mean increment?
Yeah, in just 1 year. Then you have... because half the population is poor. It's classified as poor anyway already. Okay. Then we have the inflation going up, spiraling, you know. We used to have single digits like 6% or something. Now it's about 18% just before the budget speech. Immediately after the budget speech, they released another information. The food inflation, food item is about 25%. So that's alarming. It's not a very good prospect. And I think there has been a lot of criticism on some of the budget lines as well, like the president's store budget, the medical bill, always increasing. So, and on the other side, you have the taxes going up.
Yeah, the announcement that taxes will go up.
Yeah, so it's not a good prospect. You start wondering what's going on, what's happening. And of course, another issue has been the asset recycling of that has been a major that was another major issue. So the case with the area councils, we've seen how they've been dealing with Brikama Area Council as far as they are concerned, and from the level of operations, they are doing the statistics and the output of in terms of efficiency and output. They have been doing very well, cutting down their loans from 10 million down, trying to show how much corruption or whatever alleged has been going on, around $50 million missing and things like that. Just like I was listening to somebody, if you say Sache, people start running after the thief, the guy who said Sache, you go and grab him instead.
Grab things, yes.
So generally, that's the general view of what's happening basically in some of the key issues that came up throughout the year. And I'm sure it's still alive in the memory of the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We will try to delve into this with Mr. Jallo. Yes, you've been away, but you've been closely monitoring.
Yes, absolutely.
What stood out, both in terms of challenges and achievements?
Yeah, I mean, it is overwhelming. I don't even know where to start, really. I mean, but because we have to look at where we came from a previous year, where we are now, and where we aspire to be, right? And there's so many things happening in this country. There's so many things that happens that are overwhelming that it's hard to even start from somewhere. But some of the major landmarks or some major items that have serious implications, both domestic and international, we have to highlight those things. And the shooting incident against the police officer, the PIU officers, it's a major incident that shook the country, because since the dictatorship, after the change of government, we haven't had that. And for somebody to come in just openly just shoot shoot and kill security officers, law enforcement, that's a very serious concern. I mean, and I know that people are have not been talking about it, but the security issue has not improved at all. Crime has really increased in this country, and we cannot overlook the Aki case. We lost about 70-something children. That is a very, very serious matter. I mean, any nation that is not able to...
How do you feel the government now saying that they prefer compensating them and settling it out of court?
Yeah, but that's a serious thing. I mean, when we talk about compensating, some of the figures that I saw, I mean, that is a serious issue. Instead of talking about compensating, talk about getting to the bottom line of how these medicines got into this country, the gatekeepers of this country. This is very. If we cannot protect our children and women, what else can we protect? These children are innocent children, and this is just. It's not only about government. It's every one of us who is serving, in the government, serving in a position, must really look in the mirror and see how can we prevent this from happening. It could have been anybody's child.
Yes.
It's a very, very big tragedy. And and the other thing is the number of people that we lost through the back way. I mean, we keep talking about these issues over and over again. I mean, people in this country, their living standards are not any better 2 years ago, 3 years ago than. Where is the dollar now? Where was it last year? Where is inflation now? Where is unemployment now? I mean, I saw some data, some indicators, economic indicators, international, World Bank and IMF. I think the Minister of Finance produced those. That shows that Gambia has improved in so many areas. But is the ordinary person really feeling the impact of it? It's not felt. So I mean, again, we have to measure stuff from our own standard and how we reflect on the people. I think there is a lot to be desired. The press freedom, the arrest that has been happening in this country, it's uncalled for. I mean, there has been political intimidation in this country, basically arresting people for writing stuff, journalists. I mean, we're aware of this. This is not an improvement. We're going backwards instead. What have I seen, that improved? Obviously, there is the infrastructure development, the roads are coming up. I mean, you have to give credit where credit is due. And I don't think there is any the National Assembly has passed some bills like the anti-corruption.
Yes.
I think that's a good one as well. Okay. Hopefully we will have people who can man that place that will really enforce that. But again, corruption. You look at what the area council commissions, the local government commissions. What's happening? I mean, it's incredible. It's just incredible. People collect $300,000, $400,000, and they go and deposit $3,000. And people act as if that is normal in this country. I mean, that's just
put it in their private account.
And put it in their private account. I mean, it's just so. In any way you look at it, I mean, the political thing, that is an ongoing thing. There is always going to be the politics push and pull
but you
here
think,
and there.
When the commission was being instituted, the opposition cried, saying that it is their mayors and chairpersons who've been targeted. Because it was near the elections. They believe the measure was to discredit, the chairman and women, so that they lose elections. But when it actually started, it looks like it is the administrative side of the councils that's more to blame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, so sometimes it's, look what you ask for, you know, because there are unintended consequences. And when these commissions were set up, in fact, I think Imam Babali was one of the ones, and there were people who were all over the place complaining about how can Imam Babali be serving. Yeah. I was one of the people who came out and said, you know what? You know, if you want to have anybody in there, perhaps you need somebody in there who's a little more independent. You know what I mean? Or at least, you know, but people look at everything in this country from a partisan perspective. Yeah, partisan. But we all know the area councils, you know, I mean, there's such leakages there. Yeah. So now what's happening now? You know, look at Basse area council. Yeah. Wait until they get to Kuntao. Yeah. And, you know, LRR. And you would see these. So the people that the government is putting into these local government councils, like what happens in KMC. I mean, it's incredible what happens in KMC. So you're going to force somebody who's been accused of, you know, malpractice back into the council. And it turns out these are the people who are in fact looting national, you know, resources. So, I mean, so the commission, in a good way, I mean, people have to really say, okay, you know, sometimes when government is wanting to do something, don't dismiss it right away, because it could have unintended consequences. And I think it come back to bite. I mean, you know, and I think it's good. I mean, I support the commission, because I think, you know, if you have nothing to hide,
at least you can highlight it. That, exactly. There was one thing, I mean, you know, leakages of revenue and in fact rampant corruption.
It's just serious.
So, yeah,
it's serious. Incompetence as well. I mean, so that I hope that, you know, these commissions are not going to end like the Janek Commission, where they institute the commission after the recommendations, nothing happens after, or they start reversing these things based on political affiliation. I mean, is it really? I mean, I hope.
Is where, in fact, that's where the issue is. Yes. Whether there will not be sacred cows because of their political leanings.
Exactly.
That's a concern for many people.
Exactly.
Because no matter how upright the gesture, or rather the initiative may be, if the outcome is going to be based on who somebody supports or who doesn't support, then there's a problem.
Yes.
The whole purpose will be defeated.
Exactly. And that's my biggest concern, really.
There are other legislations like the former president's bill. You must have heard of all the uproar that greeted that bill in Parliament. The bill was calling for, initially, same salary as a sitting president. It was later reduced by 20%, I guess. So the sitting president, the ex-president, will now get a little short of the salary of the sitting president. But then he will have a house if he doesn't have one of his own. If he has, it will be maintained by the state. There will be security. There will be holiday for once a year. There will be medical bills. There will be cooks and gardeners. Everything. Motor cars that will be changed every 5 years. So, I mean, when it came, people, and of course there was this controversy as to whether president, or just any former president should get it. President Jammeh's case came to mind. Should we reward people like Jammeh, whom we accused of abusing human beings and abusing the resources? And then, of course, people speculate that perhaps this is linked to President Barrow's future. He might be thinking of leaving office so that he can continue to enjoy all these things. How did you take it?
Well, you know, I am on record. In fact, I'm on so many WhatsApp groups that I was on record. I was one of the people who wrote. I said, again, unintended consequences, right? Perhaps we need some kind of an incentive package to incentivize the African presidents wanting to leave power. I said, perhaps if there is something there, they would want to leave power in some way. I mean, people attack me on it, but I was just looking for something that would, you know, really, that would motivate, you know, African leaders to leave power and rest on something. I mean, you know, if you're a president and you serve for 2 terms and you leave power, you know, with dignity and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, if you violate any laws, you know, there shouldn't be any of that. You know, but, you know, taking care of the presidents who happen to serve the country, you know, it's a small elite of, you know, people who would ever become president. But again, if you look at what does it mean for the ordinary person? I mean, why are we always looking to, you know, to increase, you know, the benefits of the elites, you know, rather than looking back and looking at the poor people, right? And I fault this on the National Assembly. And, you know, the president's bill was giving what, you know, a priority.
Yes.
I mean, the anti-corruption bill was sitting on, you know, on Parliament, you know, since 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. You know, I mean, and they never gave it priority. And the other thing that we overlooked is that, you know, the last time they reviewed the salaries of the speaker,
Yeah.
Okay, and the deputy speaker. And the excuse was that it need to be commensurated to the president being the number 2 person. And why is it that we're always looking at increasing the benefits of the elite versus the ordinary person? I mean, it's just it defeats my my consciousness just to say why are we always doing this? I have members of close friends in the National Assembly that are serving in there, and I always go after them privately. I said, why you're on the CPAC committee, right? Why is it that your first priority is to look at the speaker's salary? Why? The speaker is always getting a lot of money compared to the ordinary person. So it's based on our priorities. What do we prioritize? And it's like I cannot call this corruption, but it's more or less like enticing your boss. I mean, I come in here, I give you a lot of stuff, and when it comes to me, you will take care of me. I mean, it's a serious thing. We shouldn't be laughing about these things, if it wasn't so serious. You know what I mean? But that's just that bill should have been should have never been prioritized. But I also think if that's what's gonna take to get the presidents to leave power, then let's look at something. Maybe the Mo Abraham foundation, where you leave power, you give him $5 million and things like that to create a foundation, perhaps. But I mean, history doesn't support it. African leaders have not left power, regardless of what they have. They accumulate wealth, so much wealth, but they never leave until they are forced out. Look at where Jammeh is. So I don't know. I mean, perhaps I'm wrong on that. It's not going to. There's nothing that is going to motivate them to leave power.
You don't believe in the school of thought that maybe Barrow is doing this because he's contemplating leaving in 2026. Does he show any sign to you that he probably is not going to?
Initially, I thought so. I thought so. I mean, that's what I thought. But again, this is not Barrow pushing this. We just have to be realistic. This is not Barrow pushing this. This is people who are close to him, and this is where the leader comes in.
It came from his government.
Yes, but this is where the leaders make a difference, right? The leaders is supposed to step up and say, why are we prioritizing this? I mean, if you listen to one African president, is it Tanzania or Zambia? Zambia.
Former.
Yeah, no, he's actually still there.
Oh, okay.
When he came to power,
he
was giving. They came to they told him that they wanted to buy an SUV for him, a vehicle, a luxury vehicle for perhaps about $8 million. And he's like, are there cars in there? Why do I need whose money am I using? So perhaps the president should have said, I have businesses. I'm a businessman. I'm going to retire and all this kind of. I don't need this. Why are we got put? But I can guarantee you that this is been orchestrated by people that are surrounding him. But that's where the leaders make a difference.
But that's when he should.
Yes.
If he goes by them,
the buck stops by the leader.
Yeah.
The buck stops with the leader. He should step up and say, why are we prioritizing this?
I think your point is important because up to now, he has never said he is directly, unequivocally. I'm going to run or I will not run.
Yes.
But if you ask his lieutenants, he will say, no, he's going to be our candidate. He's going to be our candidate. So you are right in a way that people around him may be pushing an agenda that he himself may not agree with, but is unable to free himself from that by taking a decisive declaration. No, this is how I will do. This is what I will do.
History repeats itself. When Sadauda wanted to leave in Mansa Konko, what happens?
People around
him.
But I have always said it was Sadauda who didn't want to go.
Yeah, he didn't want to go. Again, it comes down to the determination of the leader and your courage and your your convictions to say, you know what, no matter what, this is not about me.
Exactly.
It's about the rest of the country. And if we had transition power during that time, perhaps we would have never had a coup d'etat.
We would never have a coup d'etat.
This is where the leaders make a difference. This is why we say, the buck stops with the leader. Oh, you have to overrule, some of these things and say, you know what, no.
Maybe also they're waiting for a right time, according to them, to come out and make a decisive, like President Macky Sall did the last time.
Right.
Okay, you could argue that Macky had always intended to go. He faced stiff resistance.
Right.
But then he had refused all along to make his, his plans clear until the very last minute. Some said when he realized he could not do it. Some said when he realized that he himself had actually said something on the contrary.
Yes.
Well, he said he's going to go because he had himself contradicted himself when he has to go. But his opponent said, no, it is the resistance that we put up that made him go. So he waited until the last minute. Is Barrow also maybe, you know, treading the same path?
I don't think he's going anywhere, man. If this,
now you come to the point. That's what I want to hear.
If these roads are open, they're going to start from the airport. This guy is going to say, "I'm the first one to bring you overpasses in this country."
I'm the one who brought the radio.
Even if he wants to go, they won't let him go.
They won't let him go.
They won't let him go. They're saying, you know, this is the guy that, you know, I always thought.
He's the guy who first brought this. He's the one who first brought this.
I'm telling you.
Who built this.
I'm telling you. I always thought maybe he would leave after two times, but when I saw these roads, I'm like, no. I mean, this guy is not going anywhere.
They will use the roads as,
of course,
his toys and his creation, and said, you build this, so you shouldn't go.
Tangibles. The Gambians like to see tangibles. This is why he's winning in up countries like URR and all that. They like to see the tangibles. You know?
So they get carried away and said, I'm the first to bring this, I'm the first to bring this. I own this, I own that.
Of course, and even though he gets credit, you know, for doing the roads, but that is what you are supposed to do as a leader.
That is
I mean,
and it's our money, one way or the other.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, but I mean, when I saw those things, I'm like, no. I mean, I don't think he's gonna go. I mean, I may be wrong. I wish I'm wrong, but I doubt it very much.
Well, we shall see. Mr. Koma, what have been your take on that? The former president's bill, etc.
I think it's giving us a bad image from the democratic point of view, because we are working with development partners. We live on taxes, grants and loans, and it seems the reason why there is a receding disbursement of grants from our development partners, maybe, you know, the democratic dispensation is not very satisfactory as far as they are concerned. Now, if you know that you don't have enough money and you come and push in a bill in such a manner, like some emergency thing, what would be the impression of our donor partners or development partners? Because, you know, they wouldn't take us seriously. So I think that is one of the problems. I don't see the urgency in it. It's necessary for presidents, ex-presidents, to really have some kind of package after they leave.
But those ex-doctors and ex-journalists, and ex-teachers.
Yes, they have their pensions and things like that. Some kind of a pension scheme, really.
But this one is huge.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the amount yet. I'm talking about the principle of having somebody retire from the political field.
Okay.
Now, when we come to the amount now, that's a different kettle of fish. Because I think it's just a bit too exorbitant. In fact, as he said, it's a question of leadership. If I were him, I would say the timing is wrong. And secondly, I look at the amount involved in the whole package to see what is. Because I like to compare figures. The president is earning $16,000 a day. All right, the poor guy is earning less than $150 a day. That's a big disparity. So why? And that's not taxable. Now, you are aware during your own tour saying that no money is coming in, so therefore we are going to raise taxes. Yes. But now you are putting a burden on
those taxes.
Exactly, by suggesting something like that, and also beefing up your estimates as far as that is concerned. And estimates, really, you see, all the time we see estimates as something that is for the upkeep of the government. No, it's more than that. It's one of the tools for development. In places like America, as he would know, they put in almost 50 to 60% of their budget into social services directly. Yeah. All right. So, but here, 95% goes into their pockets, supporting
maintaining
their lifestyle.
People,
exactly.
The elected officials or appointed officials.
Their lifestyle. Only 5% goes back to the people in terms of development. And even then, those development, are they prioritized? That's another thing, because you can have infrastructure, but is it putting anything? Because the whole point about development, again, I like to put things into basics. Development is just simply about having a good the cost of living being reasonable and the standard of living being good. That's all, simply. So if there is anything, if I claim that I put in about 1,000 kilometers of road, I would think in terms of how does it affect those factors.
Yeah, but if people have money at home, they have food, and they don't have good roads to get to places. That's another issue.
Well, you said if, that's the assumption now. Yes. But I'm saying now that income is not there. Over half of your people can't afford that, because you need at least $150 to be able to afford your basic needs. That is food, health, education, and things like that. That's not even available. That's what I'm saying. and you keep pumping money into unproductive areas.
Exactly.
That's the worry. That's the main worry. You have to look in terms of, as you said, the impact it has to on the ordinary person in the street. For example, these asset sales. It normally happens, but it happens in cases where you have an old asset that's not properly functioning and you want to recycle it somehow and make more money out of it. Now, if you give out all the assets, you have a very narrow base of getting income, which is from taxation and maybe from grants, which is not very reliable, and taking loans, which has a limit. Right now, we are 85% of our GDP on loans. We have accumulated loans within 7 years.
Yes.
We have accumulated twice what we accumulated in 50 years.
That's what I had.
It's happening. You know, these are some of the things, you know, and sometimes I wonder
what have we done with those loans?
And that's really the question. I had you talk about it, you know. I mean,
these are facts.
It's every country takes loans. I mean, U.S. government is the most indebted.
Oh, yes.
It's what you do with that money that you take. I mean, in business, we consider loans as something good. Because you take money and then you invest it, and then you so taking loans is not a problem. It's how you spend that money. As the brother was saying, Mr. Koma was saying earlier, you take that money. You know, we have a budget deficit that we're getting from the UN and all that, and now you're actually looking to how to increase salaries of all these people and the president and all that kind of stuff from borrowing money. Is that really utilizing your money? I mean, the government pays subsidies all the time, I mean.
Yes.
They pay subsidies every year. How much subsidies does the government pay? They're supporting businesses. You know, they're putting a temporary measure on the cost of living, the cost of goods, inflation. Use those subsidies to produce local goods, agriculture, gardening and all that kind of stuff. The women, if the government just doesn't, I mean, and I like I was actually one of the people who supported the asset recycling. Because in a corrupt society like ours, where there is, people take every opportunity to loot as much as possible. Anything that you can do to take away that money from them, it's an advantage. Okay, as long as the people who
take the opportunity of
people looting it.
Yeah.
Because if you put people in the Frafenye Bridge right now, the Senegambia Bridge, right, that money is just going to get looted every single day. Now, if you take away that collection, daily collection, give it to a private company to collect those things, and you take all that money and you invest it, I think the Minister of Finance is really very pragmatic.
But it depends on what amount of that goes to that private company.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to look at the structure, how it is structured, and again, you have to structure it in the best interest of the country, right? But
right.
The looting in this country is it's unimaginable. This is where we have a problem. We're not supposed to have a budget deficit, and I support the taxation as well. I said this on a radio program.
You support controversial.
I support taxation as well. You know what? If there is no pain, there is no gain. Perhaps, I mean, the middle class in this country doesn't feel the inflation in this country. They don't feel it. I don't believe they feel it. The ordinary people, I sympathize with the poor, but the middle class in this country, they don't feel it. They're finding a way to sustain their social activities. How many Ngente and how many naming ceremonies and how many marriage ceremonies do the people go to? Where do they get that money, Lamin? People are building houses. Where do they get that money?
If you go around, you see mansions.
So perhaps when people are squeezed, to the end, they will start to hold the government accountable. How many of our people talk to our National Assembly members? They don't care. The people think that there is nobody can make any difference in this country. From the president to the bottom, everybody is complaining. How many people are doing something about it? I mean, perhaps it's time. I own a home in Brikama, right? Yeah. I pay $175 a year, less than $5.
Yes.
How can that bring any development? Okay. How do you expect electricity? Okay. How do you expect water? Now the question is it the egg or the chicken? Which one comes first? But I believe that if people start paying a lot of money, they feel like they cannot do anything anymore. They're going to start to hold their government accouable.
Only if
the accountability is not there.
Only if they are sure that that money is going to also be put into good use.
If it's not put into good use, they go demand it. They go demand it. I mean, we're just letting government get away.
So you still believe that these things we pay in compound rates and other things are way comparatively small?
They're not even small. They're almost
pittance compared to other places.
They cannot bring any development. This is why we're borrowing money. This is why we're borrowing $173 for a compound for 20-something years.
That's still.
I expect to get a road. Yeah. I expect to get water. I expect to get electricity. I mean, from that $175, $5.
Yeah.
But also, that money, even that $5 is not getting to the people. It's the area council is looting it.
So that's where the problem is. If you ask me to pay more, but logically you make sense.
Yes.
Because if you don't have enough, you can't be able to do.
The people have to demand that the services are delivered.
But of course, if that little you are paying is going to be good use, because it will be put into good use and not to support extravagant lifestyles, as Mr. Komma have just outlined.
Exactly.
That's where the problem is.
But see, how many people go to the hospital and they don't get medicine? How many women die in maternity during maternity ward? How many of our our people our youths died on the back way?
Yeah.
And nobody is holding the government accountable to it.
Well,
nobody is.
Migration activists and opposition politicians and civic society are talking. But the problem is, even the president last time said they are coming with legislation now that they think is going to really help in deterring would-be criminals who organize this, because the existing laws is not enough to deter them, because the punishment it envisages is far too lenient.
We're not holding our elected officials accountable. We're not holding them accountable. We're letting them get up. When the president promised people, this is what I'm going to do, and they didn't get it, it's 7 years into his administration. What happened to Nawek? It's still the same problem. And when we listen to Nani Juara, he's like, we have enough, we produce enough to be able to sell out, export to another country.
When we are getting it from, in fact, the North Bank and other areas are fed by Senegal.
That's what I'm talking about. Did I just talk
Mustafa?
Well,
was that Mr. I thought that was Nawek.
Talk about Nawek. You see what happens?
No, this one is self-inflicted. It's a Barimunga man who thought he's putting up.
Is that right?
Okay, all right. But yes, let's go straight to the back way, because you've just managed to sneak it in the conversation. It's the later part of the is the topic now we are going to. Now, we've seen an upsurge in the back way, and even deaths, a considerable number of deaths towards the end of the year. What do you think led to this sudden upsurge?
Loss of hope. The youths in this country don't believe that they can do anything without getting outside of this country. That's just what they believe.
But what is driving that?
That's because there is no employment in this country. There is no other means of living in this country. The youths, people have to survive. I mean, I have my brother's sons. The kids calling me and saying, "I want to go through the back way." There is no hope. This is why I said the president has a very good storyline. He talked about how he went outside to the UK.
Yes.
Right? And he came back and developed his own business, and he's now president.
Yeah.
So come out and talk to the youths. Talk to our young people and motivate them. When Obama, came to power, how many young people were motivated enough to be able to join politics and to be able to do something in the US? So it's all about hope. It's all about engineering people, really telling people that this is what you can do. Talk to our young people. Talk to our young people and motivate them. They're committing suicide, basically. They're committing suicide. And our development partners, nobody, again, it comes to accountability. The people who own the boats, they transport youths from here, from Banjul, from Bara. They bought boats right here from Bara. Nobody is held accountable to that. Nobody. The back way is as old as sliced bread, as we call it in the US, right? It's you and I grew up here. We know some of our brothers went through the back way.
Yeah.
But the back way has become more dangerous. Before they never load people in boats. And obviously climate change, the ozone has become, Atlantic ozone has become more dangerous. So the young people need to know that this is, you're risking your life, by going this way. But then what else are they going to fall to? They're going to say, Momo Faraje Alawat Holisida.
But then you see, if you talk about unemployment, somebody can argue that you've seen people who are employed, who are already, employed somewhere, yet they take the back way.
Yes, because 3,000, let's say your average salary is $3,000. A bag of rice is 1,500 or 1,200. How many? How much are you left with?
So it's not just a question of not being employment, but a lack of gainful, or let's say rewarding jobs.
Exactly.
Because a job must be rewarding enough also to encourage you to stay.
Exactly.
So we have a twin problem of lack of employment and lack of a decent pay
Yes.
This is our own motive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think that, I believe that, there is dignity in work. No matter how small it is, at least if you're earning even $1,500, right? You're not depending on somebody entirely. You can always have your plans to travel. You can always have that, but at least in the meantime, don't depend on somebody. Don't go about begging. The begging in this country is serious.
Yeah.
When you and I were growing up, our parents used to be shy to beg.
Oh yes.
Oh my goodness. You want me to open my WhatsApp right now?
Even if
anybody,
a child asks for sweet in the street, that child will be dealt with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So but begging has become a new phenomenon in this country. People just beg. I can understand it's because of poverty and all that kind of stuff. But then, before you beg, and this is why I have shifted my focus. Instead of helping individuals, I have shifted my focus to try to see if I can help communities.
Organize.
Build gardens or build institutions and see if they can benefit from there instead of helping individuals. Because I've been out of this country for 20-something years. All the things that I've been sending here, I don't see any difference. It's the same thing. Yeah. So now I'm shifting my focus. I'm like, okay, I'm focusing on the community.
I'm actually interested in some of the activities you've been doing. You've been involved with community assistance.
Yeah, because I'm from the small village, right? Yeah. The women there, they never had access to clean drinking water. My parents never had access to clean drinking water. Yeah. So it's like, okay, maybe if I can help, them have access to clean drinking water. Well, if I can have them have gardens.
As clean drinking. Our people didn't even know
exactly.
that the water they had.
So we have gardens going on now where the women are taking it really, really very seriously. Yeah. They're engaged in gardening. We're not supposed to import things like onions. Absolutely. Paper. We're not supposed to import those things. Those things can be grown right in our backyard. And the reason why, people are only, farming during the rainy season is because there's no water. Water only comes during the rainy season.
Yes.
Now, what if you have water all year round?
All year round.
You can harvest 2-3 times a year. Yeah. Right? It's just it's mind-boggling. But those are some of the activities that I think, I don't think I can make much difference on the political front, but I can make a difference, impacting communities directly, helping communities, schools, and helping, really people try to gain employment.
You've invited in the other sector of the economy, agriculture, Mr. Koma.
Yeah.
Agriculture. He's been talking about how, unfortunately, we are importing basic things that we can easily grow here.
Yeah.
And recently, in fact, we read in Foria that farmers are struggling to get paid for the nuts they've already taken to the secos. Yeah. And the government is saying the lack of money, sufficient money in the sectors is because of security concerns for such money, for the safety of such money. You think of, we said agriculture is the backbone of our economy, yet we've not managed to get the youths to take it up. Largely, some people said because it is again like other jobs, it's not rewarding. Yeah. Like a ton of groundnut is 38,000. The government said is a huge improvement. Right, yeah. Many believe it's still small.
Okay. Agriculture is important in 2 ways because it has about 70% of the employment of the whole nation, which is a lot. Yeah. And also is one of the generators of growth for the GDP. Is agriculture, industry and services, but mainly agriculture. So that's why it's important. But you see, things don't happen automatically or naturally. They are supported by policies, strategies and programs. You have to have that, and you have to have a vision to do that. That's the problem with, in fact, not only Gambia, but African countries. People are more concerned about the power they have rather than the service they offer to the people. That has been the case. Even all the reflections in the budget and what he's saying and things like taxation, it's all about how much power they get. If you get a project today, let's say design an agricultural project, I can tell you almost 80% is going into their own pockets, like provision of air condition, new offices.
Motor cars. There's the Roots project, for example, that's said to be $80 million or something.
This is the problem.
But if you go around and look at the pickup cars, that cost millions themselves.
Always. So so as I said, it doesn't happen automatically. You have to have a vision supported by policies, and then devise some strategies and implement programs for them. That's all. That's what we lack. It's as simple as that. So once we have that, it's okay. The agriculture has a lot of inputs here. Right now, for rice, the production rate is about 4 tons per hectare, which is very low. and it can go up to 8 tons, 8 to 10 tons per hectare. That is possible. Why are we not focusing on that? What is happening? What is happening to Jahali Bacha? You can revive it, because most of the investment there is gone. And in fact, finally, the whole point is about management. The reason why you are selling those assets, or in terms of corruption is all about management. It has some opportunity cost. It's costing a lot. For example, if somebody takes $50 million is away, the opportunity cost is that thing should have been into some health sector. So if you give somebody the brick to manage, the point is try to manage it properly. We had a gum shell here before when you have Bakar Njai. It was it was second in Africa, second to South Africa. Yeah. Why? Good management. If it were poor management like now, they will start thinking of selling it. So this for me, I always see it in some kind of context so that we can have a better understanding. Like agriculture, we can feed ourselves. It's true, but we have to have the right policies to do that. I think that's one of the problems that we have in this country. And when you come to the back way thing, as you said, it's a loss of hope. All right, youths don't want to go into that kind of agriculture where you don't earn much. As we are saying now, they hear it. You go to the farmers, they can't get paid. Yeah. And now you have a policy to say that if you sell your goods outside, you'll be arrested or something.
Yeah, they said now they don't want the farmers, Gambian farmers, that is, to sell to outside operators. In fact, in the past, there used to be operators who are not even licensed. Yeah. But again, if you are licensed and offer better price, the farmer, especially in the light of realities now, getting groundnuts to the sector and not being paid, will definitely go to a private operator who come to their house. They save the farmer from transportation and pay them well. So that's where that's the problem that GGC or government is facing.
The economy is nobody's friend. I always say this. It has its own laws and you have to abide by them. People you see a better price, you go there. It's demand and supply. Yes. So if you want to, yes, price control can be all right in certain areas, but in things like that, you want to motivate a sector that is so important to you by controlling prices for them. It's something else. Let them look at it properly. Let them look at the management, what they do, what kind of policy they have.
Yeah, because the government said, the farmers should consider selling groundnuts to the state agency, because it's the state agency that provides fertilizer, that provides support in many other ways. So it's only sensible that the farmers support themselves rather than selling it to private operators who wouldn't give them fertilizer or anything.
The primary motivator is the price. Yeah. Everything else is secondary. Yes. That's what they look. That's at the bottom line. You look at your bottom line. How much do you get out of this? So what investment goes in there, fine. But at the end, you put in whatever you invest, even in business, whatever you invest, fine. But you look at your bottom line at the end of the day. How much do you get out of it? Now, if they don't get anything out of it, whether you give them fertilizer free of charge, they'll sell it to the best bidder. It's very simple. These things are very basic. This is the way I see things. And it's all about will. If you have the will to govern properly, you'll do it. Look, the Americans are doing it, the British are doing it, Europeans are doing it. They are not more intelligent than us. It's only because, look, we go to the same university. Most of the time you go to the university, you do better than them. And those are the guys who go there and work.
Absolutely.
It's our own will and capacity and desire and passion to do the work for our people. Yeah. But if you go there to enrich yourself, it's a different kettle of fish. That's what is happening, and that's the reality. Now, if you talk about it, they think you don't like government or no. In fact, it should be the other way around. If I were in government, I'd be listening to criticisms more than anybody else. Yeah, that's right. Just like I listened to Obama at one time. He said when he comes to the kitchen table, he will ask the kids, what did the paper say about me? Yes. Because he wants to know what's going on. Then you try to, but here is a different kettle of fish. That's why they are saying, even the media, they are trying to clamp on the media. Clamp on the media. The point is that also gives us another perspective from the donor community. And that's why there is no money coming in. The media is there to really tell you what is going on. So since if you listen to the media, you may even not have to go around the country to media.
I think it comes down to patriotism. Really, love for your country. Yeah. Why would you want to live a better life than your neighbor? Or your community. No matter what I have become as Demba, right? I am from this village. my people are still suffering. So me, if I'm employed in government, why would I not want to deliver for those people? Why would I not want good health care for them? Why would I not want good education for them? So it comes down to, to really us being patriots of this country, delivering service. It used to be that going into public service is one of the biggest honors. It's the biggest honors for anybody to represent a people, because you are trusted among hundreds, among thousands. You are selected among them to represent, like the president. It's a big honor, but people use it as as a way to enrich themselves. I mean, I think it comes down to really, not loving this country. I mean, and there's a difference between being born in this country and being a patriot. Loving your country, there is a difference. People are citizens by default, but do they really love the country? If you're working in the Ministry of Agriculture or you're working in the Ministry of Education, I mean, you operate a newspaper. Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? When you go to work every single day, you make sure that there's standard of work. There is delivery of service. Yeah. So when you are there, what is your legacy? I mean, this is where I think, we need to go back to, to the drawing table and start reorienting our young people, our kids, teach them patriotism, teach them their civic education, and really how to deliver, to our people. I mean, it's just, we have a society that is very, very naive. People built on status. We celebrate the people who are the most corrupt. I'm sorry to say. Yeah. We celebrate people who are the most corrupt, or they got the most money from wherever they get it. Those are our champions. That's what Obama used to say. This is your champion. This is the person who sees you. They don't see the people. So, Gambians, let's stop complaining and start working. Wherever you are as a citizen, you are employed. Make sure you deliver. Let's stop talking about capacity. We are the capacity. If you're the MD, you keep saying we don't have capacity. Hire people that are capacity. I mean, I think we shift the blame all the time instead of taking individual responsibilities. And it goes in a circle like this. It's like, okay, it's Lamin's fault. No, it's his fault. No, it's his fault. No, it's his fault. And nobody takes responsibility of their own individual actions. No delivery. It's mind-boggling when you look at what is happening in this country, because do people really genuinely want to? And we don't want to generalize. It's not everybody. It's not fair. Right. There are some people really that are genuinely want to deliver, but they also give up. They're saying, well, I can't do anything about it. Change starts with us as individuals, as citizens, and nobody is going to come from anywhere to develop this country or to build this country for us. If you're in government, it is your responsibility. If you're in the private sector, it's your responsibility to deliver. Let's deliver as citizens. Let's love our people. Yeah. When I go out to the countryside, I'm from the countryside. I grew up over there. Really, I mean, I become emotional every single day. I said, you don't have to. If you live in the village, it doesn't mean you cannot have running water. It doesn't mean you cannot have a toilet. It doesn't mean that you have to eat from the dirt. It doesn't mean that we have resources in this country. And look at going back to subsidies, government. They're saying, oh, farmers, sell your ground to us. Yeah. And they're paying thousands or even millions of subsidies to these farmers. Yeah. Use that money instead of subsidizing it. Somebody is benefiting from those subsidies, not necessarily the farmers, because their living conditions it hasn't improved. Yeah. So what are you subsidizing? Who are you subsidizing? The businesses. Why not invest those back into the communities? Get them. We're hearing 180 trucks.
Well, they will claim that you subsidize the business. They get the products cheaper for the people of the country.
It's not any cheaper.
That's the justification.
It's not any cheaper. It's still high. A bag of rice is still high. But if we don't have to import rice anymore, then we don't have to pay for a bag of rice for 1,200 because we have it locally. It can cost 800. Or even 500 when we produce it locally. So we have to really reprioritize how we run our government. Government has been run this way, the same way from independence to now. Yeah. Same old way. That's the budget. What percentage of our budget goes towards development? It's all expenditure, right? I mean, servicing debt that we don't see where it goes. We don't see it. Lives are not improving. This country, we need to start having some serious conversation. I know we didn't get to the demolitions and all that.
That's what we are coming.
I'll let you lead that.
All right. So now, let's move on to. I was going to go to outside Senegal, because if Senegal sneezes, we catch cold. I was going to do that. There's seemingly to be tumultuous days ahead, you know, in Senegalese politics, and we will discuss. But yes, the demolition exercise towards the end of the year, and in fact it's still continuing, has raised a lot of controversy. A lot of people seem to agree that there is definitely a need for illegal structures that are obstructing pathways all over the country be removed. But then we have observed that it has really led to some loss of revenue, some loss of businesses, some arguments as to the way and manner it's been conducted, and whether there should be some compensation scheme for it, and why did the local authorities and the physical planning allowed structures to be put up only to come and demolish them at a huge cost to the individuals involved. How did you see it? In Brikama, for example, it was really a hot issue because the local council there said that government is in fact doing it in a bad faith, using political motivations, you know, instead of real intention to clear the place. How did you see?
Well, I start with the capacity issue about local government and things like why they have not been able to monitor these things up to this stage.
Yeah.
You realize that we have a very fast urban population growth rate, and there is no capacity in the local council or local government to supervise these things. There is no capacity. Just like he's complaining that the rate has been $175 per annum. They don't have the capacity of valuers going out there to value those properties. That's the whole problem. So they just sit down and just forget about it. So what has been valued some 30 years ago, that's the rate they are using right now. All they think of it is the rate poundage or so. Anyway, coming back to the demolition thing, I think it's all a question of planning. Planning gives you about 95% of success. This thing has not been properly planned. If you listen to them, they said, okay, they had some meetings and things like that to discuss that they are going to demolish. That's just declaring an intention. But they have not planned it properly to sit down. If there should have been a study of the issue, to look at the key areas who are required to be cleared, that are required to be cleared. That would have given them an idea. And then mobilize those people in those areas and start sensitizing them on the issue and see what alternatives are available. If we are talking, again, I come back to the same statistics. If we are talking about over 50% of people who are poor, and this affects the supply chain, from the guy who orders the stuff to the guy right down there who is selling, from the guy who has some garden somewhere to the guy selling the vegetable. It disrupts it. So the supply chain is disrupted. Those guys are the guys who, when they go out, they wait for the day, for the sales of the day to be able to pay for the lunch or whatever for the kids. Now these are guys who disrupt. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a clearing exercise, but I'm saying it's not properly planned and has not been properly executed. It should have been properly studied. And then there should have been an alternative site for these guys, whether compensation or some relocation. Imagine you are clearing a site. There is a temporary thing which is movable. In fact, it's not temporary, it's a movable table. Do you have to destroy that for that guy, the poor guy? Just move the thing. But you will destroy the table itself. That can be removed.
But why didn't they told them to dismantle the things and keep whatever parts they may use? It's only when you refuse to do that they come and push it down.
Look, it's not a question of being told, announced or whatever. As I said, there should have been a study on this, if you really mean it. Because as I said, there should be the proper policies of everything. Things don't just happen like that. If you do things haphazardly, they have consequences. And I think this is what the issue is. You may have good intentions. But in the end, because of the way it has been implemented, it is all wrong. You don't have to go inside the market. I'm from Brikama. The guy claimed that the road they have in the market still exists. It doesn't. That road has been there when I was young. They had a wrestling arena on one side and women market gardens on the other. Then there is a road that comes straight. When the buses come, they go to where they call the community center and tennis courts and things like that. That has now been taken over by the market. Because the market before was at the central mosque area. When the market moved and it was expanding, it took over all those areas. It took over even the government buildings that are behind. So how can you say you come today and just clear that area? And then you go inside the garage, the car park, and clearing even the sheds that are out. So what's the objective? Secondly, my question is, what's the criteria? I listened to the guy. He said, it's the local government law which says that you shouldn't be there. There is no local government law. Absolutely none. There is no law which says that you should move. He said if you apply the width of the road, it's not applicable because it's too much. Fine, so the width of his road is not. So what's there? It's subjective. Then finally he said he looks at the block and the block should be aligned to this. If you are not aligned to that, you are gone. So now if my block...
no, so there's a whole sort of...
It does nothing. It's just arbitrary. It's very arbitrary. The man sits there because he has some power given to him. He can weld it anyhow. You argue with him, cuff him.
Yes,
that's not the point.
I've seen incidences where
these are poor guys.
People get arrested.
For me, it's the wrong timing. And if it should have been conducted, it should have been studied, it should have been properly planned and things like that. Unfortunately, we have a government that doesn't listen. You tell them these things, they don't mind. And there was a time I even made an appeal for government to stop for a time and look at these things properly. They don't bother. It's just like our sand mining in beaches. They don't even go there to see what is happening. Go and see these things physically. Don't depend on these low level technicians. Go there and see yourself. Listen to the people. Maybe you'll have some compassion. Compassion is very important in leadership. It's extremely important. Compassion and patriotism. If you don't have it, you are in a terrible state of affairs for a country.
But all the same, you agree that there are certain areas are unnecessarily congested.
Oh yes, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said there should be a study. For example, if you go to the market area in Brikama, you need a study there, but you don't have to go there and leave it to somebody who has a subjective view to where to clear. All right? It should be cleared, it should be arranged. Now you go to Serakunda market, the same. You go to like where they call Parker. Those things exist because now today, if you want a spare part, you would have said, I go to Parker. You go and clear that place. How does that affect the economy, the chain supply of the economy? So these are the things I'm saying, you study them properly. That's part of physical planning. You study them. Maybe they don't even have that capacity.
And people ask, where was physical planning when all these illegal, things they call illegal structures have been put up?
I'm saying it's lack of capacity. They couldn't supervise these things. At one time, the population was small. During my time, I was there before. All you had was a small, what they call LCAT. And we used to go for field inspections every day. All right?
He was former lands director.
You know, but you can't do that now. They don't have, go there, they don't even have a vehicle. All right? And now the guy claims that it's part of development control. Now, if you use that criteria, a lot of properties will go because they don't have the development permit.
I see.
So what's the criteria? What are the criteria they use to demolish these things?
So let me, I'm in real estate, obviously, right? So I am very much interested in land reforms and land development and all that. But in reality, somebody has to be the bad cop in this country in order to be able to move this country from point A to point B. Okay, I support the demolitions and I look at it from a business perspective. Let's say you are a taxi driver. Okay, you are able to make maybe 5 trips a day. Before you go to tipper garage, you're stuck in that tipper garage area for 2 hours. You have a passenger in the back of your vehicle. You could not go and come back. You can easily go through there now for 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes, go to Sukuta and come back. The place is clear. The people, we have to enforce the law in this country. If you want to fight corruption in this country, you have to fire a whole bunch of people. Listen, the physical planning that we're talking about, a lot of people that you know, they have friends at physical planning. They go in there and they go through the back door, and then the physical planning does this and does that for them. Physical planning, they are aware of what was happening. But again, it's a matter of enforcement. I support what Mane is doing. Really, I mean,
Mane is Chief Security Officer at NRA.
Exactly. I mean, I'm telling you that, I mean, if they had planned this, the maslaha in this society, it's just, they were going to corner him. They wait until the sun comes down. They go there and they start compromising him. We have to enforce the law in this country. Nothing but the law. Yes, the planning is important. They could have planned. The markets are not supposed to be in the middle of town. Markets are outside of the city. The city is too congested. You go to Brikama that you guys are talking about. You couldn't go past that Brikama market. Even the food that people are eating is filthy. There's dirt. There's everywhere. You cannot even pass. My vehicle got stuck in there, and I ran on top of somebody's
vegetable.
Somebody's vegetable. I had to get off of and then just buy the whole thing and compensate the individual because there is no road. Right? It's a safety issue. But this country, we have to be a lot more serious. We have to enforce the law. And I believe that what is happening right now, they're enforcing the law, they're clearing the roads for safety-wise. Yes, do I sympathize with the poor, with the woman, the lady with the vegetables on their head? I sympathize with them. But guess what? They have to find a place. It is the responsibility of government to find them a place to go and sell their stuff. Right? No compensation. Somebody dug a well in the middle of the road. A well in the middle of the road. You saw that picture of that?
Yeah, a picture of that.
I mean, so you go around this town now. People are building their houses and they take sand or stones and then they drop it right in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
You don't care whether this is a public road or not a public road. Nobody cares and nobody is enforcing the law.
Yeah.
This is where we need to come in. If you are appointed,
people who hold cannabis and parties right in the middle of the road and block.
I'm telling you, I mean, it's just we have to enforce the law. Yes, I mean, these people are going to find an alternative place to sell their stuff. They're going to find an alternative place. The government needs to provide them with an alternative place.
Going to be completely wiped out because some business is about location.
But, I mean,
and there's no enough market space for you to accommodate.
But why were you operating on the public road in the first place? You're not supposed to.
Where were the authorities in the first place?
What's that?
Where were the authorities?
Well, exactly. So, but where are the authorities? But also, where are the people that are supposed to hold the authorities accountable? So this is exactly what I'm talking about. We have to enforce the law in this country, and they inject politics into everything in it. Somebody has to be a bad cop. If you are to transform this country, you're not going to be the most famous person. Famous, I mean, in a positive way. You're going to be famous in the negative way. Everybody's going to talk about you. But you have to deliver. In the long run, it's better for the community. It's better for the society because the roads are open. Business can move. Delivery of goods and services, can move fast. Right? I mean, and people are safe also. I mean, when you're on the road, you're not safe. Vehicles can be Serekunda Market now, you can go on it's a 2-lane road.
Yes.
People used to park their cars and they sell on top of the cars. It's absolute negligence, absolute chaos. And as long as there is no order, as Mr. Koma said, again, the government needed a plan. But how many times do we hear we have this plan? We have this plan. Who is enforcing it? Who is delivering it? Delivery is our problem. Enforcement is our problem. This is where we need to focus. I support 100% what Mane is doing, and I think government should be forced. The people of Brikama, they should go to the area council and say, allocate us a place for us to go and sell our goods.
Well, that's what the area council is doing, and they are loggerheads with government over that.
Well, I mean, that's what they need to do.
I mean, I think the problem is the law has to be enforced, but there should be a process. That's all we are saying. It should be enforced, no doubt about it. But there should be a process, and that process needs planning. That's all we are saying. And that if you don't do it, it affects the economy. And that's the reality. All right? It should be done, and it shouldn't be done globally. It's not everywhere you need to clear.
Or randomly.
Randomly, it's something else. But the way it is going, that's what I'm saying. So that's where the problem is. And with physical planning too, as I said, they don't have the capacity. The last physical planning standard established here was in 1980 something. Last physical plan for this greater Banjul was 1980 something, 1984 or 86.
So everything was
there's nothing. It's not exactly. It's not happening. So that's why you don't have any standards to base it on.
So you just go
exactly. That's why I say exactly. So I'm talking from that part of experience. That's why I'm saying that it needs some kind of planning. They should have studied it, and it would have been conducted very well. You don't force out those poor people out and then ask them to look for a place. I think even in World Bank projects, when you are implementing a project, there will be demolition. They call them affected persons. And they take care of them first before the project is implemented. I'm not saying there should be any compensation, but there could have been an arrangement with area council like they are doing now and find another place for them. And they move them out in a more orderly manner.
Even that is getting problematic in
Brikama. Well, this is the problem. That's why I'm saying.
Because I had.
You are very right in the enforcement thing, but the process, that's where the problem is.
Absolutely. And the process is, and if you go to physical planning, look at in the past 10 years, how many projects were brought into physical planning, how much funding they have to build capacity. And again, we keep talking about this capacity thing. Then you need to look at your staff and see if these are the people who are competent. If they are not competent, they don't need to be there. And it is sympathetic to say you are firing somebody that that is not qualified, their family. But
Honorable Mai Fati of GMC the last time saying nobody can fight corruption successfully under the current civil service. Many people took offense, but then that's what he said. He said the civil service is too corrupt.
Well, I thought we have a civil service, new ministry of civil service.
Well, they are supposed to incorporate civil service reform.
How many years? 7 years now. We've been talking about civil service reform. And again, I mean, the politicians are injecting themselves into it and just diluted everything that we do. You know, I mean, leave this to the professionals to do it, but they're positioning themselves already.
Politicians are the problem.
You know, the politicians are the problem, but also the people don't hold them accountable. I mean, again, they're starting to say, why can't we enforce? My father was there. He was the Minister of Interior, and when he was there, he was enforcing the laws.
Yeah, he was.
He was actually tough.
He was seen to be so.
He was tough.
Yes, he was seen to be tough.
That's what
he definitely was.
So now, how can he say that? Then you cannot. Because at the time he said you are either you either obey the law or you are consumed by the law. So if you're in the civil service, you either perform based on performance or you are out. You know, I mean, we have to do this because in the long run, we're doing it for our people. We're doing it for our people. This compromise, you hire somebody that is not competent, and then you start complaining about capacity. You know, build capacity by hiring people who are competent enough because you have the money.
Good. Finally, gentlemen, Senegal, we are going to end now. They're going to have elections actually in a couple of weeks now because it's February 25th, a little over a month or so. Not quite 2 weeks, 2 months. They're going to have a president. What we know for sure is going to be a new president, no doubt about it. Whether it comes from the opposition or President Macky Sall's protege, Mr. Amadou Bah. Already we know there's a lot of tension with opposition leader Ousmane Sonko being incarcerated, and there's a process to get his election process validated or etc. How significant is this election for the Gambia? Mr. Balde, quickly.
Very significant, but I bring it down to the people. Macky Sall was forced to get out. He wanted to stay, but he was forced to get out because the Senegalese people were resistant to it. That's what I'm talking about. You know, they have civil society, they have ordinary citizens that are saying, no, this is what you told us before, and you know, now it's not going to happen here. The people stood up, and he's out. They're going to have a new president. They're going to have a new opportunity. It doesn't matter where he or she comes from. They're going to have a new opportunity to rebuild with a new leadership, right? But the people have to get involved. You cannot leave it up to them. Senegal is doing really well, you know, economic-wise. They're taking a lot of our stuff. Look at their port, right? Look at their airport, right? They're doing a lot of things right, and it's from their policy. So you can say Macky Sall did a lot of work over there, so therefore he can stay another 5 years, right? Or he can contest. Like but no, that's not what it is. The constitution says you are two-term. He was the one that reduced it. He need to go, and when he wanted to stay, the people got out. Unfortunately, lives were lost. You know, and I in that case, I did not support Ousmane Sonko in that case because I think he could have played his cards well. You know, I mean, every life is so significant. You know, so you know,
I think as the government believe he was the one inciting the violence.
I think he did not do anything to restrain, you know, the youth from violence. You know, I mean, he was a resistant, right? I mean, but he did not. You didn't hear him anywhere where he calls for the youths, you know, to protest peacefully or to, you know, avoid, you know, what was that. And Senegal, you know, I wrote about this, and Senegal got to a very, very dangerous point when people were sitting on television and on radios and saying Lakalen Kerambi, you know, you know what I mean, killing them and all that's a disaster. That's a recipe for civil war. You know, when things happen that. But they have the institutions also. And hopefully the institutions, and this in the US, this is what saves the, you know, the politics there, because of the institutions would step in. Hopefully the institution will step in. But Macky Sall is leaving not based on his own audacity, based on the pressure from the people, and he's leaving. And as a result, that's good for the Senegalese.
Some people said yes, he been forced to leave, but he now chooses who contests the elections.
But he's not going to vote for the person. The people are going to vote. So you can choose whoever you want.
I'm saying people have been denied the opportunity to contest in the first place.
Well, but people have a chance to go and vote. So are you going to vote for that person? No. If you don't vote for him, is he going to win? Is he going to be president? No. So this is what it is. It comes down to, you know,
it's still the people who matters.
It's the people that matter. Power resides with the people. You know, people are going to be the ones going to vote. Even if Sonko is denied, you know, to participate, most likely it is, you know, because I don't know, you know, if he's allowed to contest, I think he's a formidable opponent. You know, but I mean, as politicians, you know, when we have people behind us, you should always be restrained. You should always call for restraints, and violence is not the option. Peaceful protest is always important.
So whatever happens, what would be significance on the Gambia? Whatever happens?
Well, I mean, as you said earlier, when Senegal sneezes, we catch cold, right? I mean, you know, unfortunately, I think our economy is going to be swallowed by Senegal in a lot of ways.
Wow.
In a lot of ways. I mean, we used to re-export, you know, to Senegal.
Yeah, Senegal.
But I mean, a lot of things are, you know, Senegal is its positioning itself. A lot of, you know, foreign investors when they come in now, and Senegal is benefiting from that.
Absolutely.
When they come in, why would you need to come to the Gambia when the electricity is not even stable?
I tell you.
Why? Go there. I was in Dakar last year when I came, and I loved the, you know, the business movements around there and the developments around there. You know, and hopefully we would have a, you know, our leaders would wake up someday. And I talk about this, you know, the president can be a transformative leader as well. It's never too late to realize that, you know what, this is what we need as a country. But Senegal is positioned, you know, because of their stability, they are positioned well, you know, to do a lot better. And if they're able to manage their democracy, it's just going to be, it's going to be a lot of trouble for Gambia. But Senegal is next door. We can import stuff, you know, cheaper from Senegal than from China. You can go across the border and then buy stuff and bring it over, right?
But even that is not helpful because Senegal belongs to a bloc, the West African monetary bloc, that the CFA.
It does.
And it makes it difficult because it's easier between themselves than us.
It does.
So even though we are living next to Senegal, but if you look at economic-wise, operation-wise, we are dealing with a whole region, you know, in terms of economy. Mr. Koma, finally, Senegal's elections and its significance in the Gambia?
First of all, I have a different opinion. I'll only see if Macky Sall goes, then he goes. I'm not too sure he will go.
But he's certainly going.
Well, that's
he certainly will not contest.
That's my opinion.
that one is clear.
I feel that
I'm not too confident. There'll be a surrogate of him, Amadou Ba.
Not surrogate as such. Since Macky brought that guy, I never heard him talk so much about him by promoting him. That's another thing. And two, just yesterday I was listening to some program which says that you know, you can make some objection. You can't change the IEC members within, I think, 6 months before the election.
Oh, you mean they are constitutional?
Yeah, you can't change them within a particular, and he did. So somebody is saying that he did that so that people would contest it, and if they contest it, that will drag the elections a little bit.
Yeah, people have been, yes.
So there are so many things, manipulations. That's why I'm saying if I see him go, I see him go.
Well, but I see your point.
Yeah, but as far as our lessons, there are two lessons I want to draw from that. First of all, the political maturity in that area as far as civil society is concerned, as he mentioned, is very impressive. And the role of the media and the social media in that area. Because if you look at PASTEF, at one time they were calling them social media party. But now they have the biggest following. Right. So it's very important.
Even though they are banned.
Exactly. You know, so that's a big lesson for politicians all over the place. Not only politicians, for anybody who thinks social media should be a good advantage in terms of promoting your interests and things like that. That's one lesson. The other lesson is the rate of development they are undertaking as far as politics is concerned. They are well developed. The guy has done a lot as far as they are concerned. But still, they are saying 2 times you have to go.
That's right.
You know, I wonder what would have been the case if it were here. They would have said, oh, there will be a lot of sycophants.
Like you said.
Exactly.
The roads are here. You build the roads.
That's the problem, you know, and a leader has to resist that. And there should be a lot more political consciousness, I think, as far as we are concerned. That's the lesson we should learn from them. And the way the political parties are structured and collaborate is also very, very interesting as far as Senegal is concerned. So these are some of the lessons we should learn with the politics as far as it's concerned. But the other aspect is the economic bit, which they are really pushing ahead and really swallowing us. Because it's all a question, again, comes back to policies and strategies. You know, I remember the first guy from Dubai came here first during the time of Yahya Jammeh. He couldn't go. They went to Senegal. They are building another. Exactly. Yes, so these are some of the things. We have a lot to learn from them, from the political process, how the consciousness, the passion they have in there and things like that. Look at the people went out and they were being shot, but still they come out. So it seems that they have the passion and they are prepared to struggle to any level.
Like he said, to put the leaders into
account. Yeah, it's incredible. And what they talk about in social media. Yeah. And there's made no threat to say that I'm closing, I'm doing that. Okay, there were a few cases where a TV station was closed and things like that, which really solid his record as a Democrat, because he was a well-respected guy in the whole world as one Democrat and stable country in that place. And suddenly, but then sometimes you have another unseen hand behind manipulating things. So that's the Francophone.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Lamin Koma, a retired civil servant, former director of lands, and Demba Balde, a man activist. I call you all sort of tax, he has it. He's also founder and editor of the Kainago newspaper, which did very well in the struggle. He's in the United States of America, a native of Nyamina, I guess. Demba Balde, thank you very much for being on the brunch. And once again, our condolences to our fallen comrade, Matthew K. Jallo, to whoever knew him. This is the brunch. We will be back next week, inshallah. Until then, on behalf of these two gentlemen in the studio, have a happy new year.
Islamic microfinance is becoming an increasingly popular mechanism for poverty alleviation, especially for developing countries around the world. This microfinance service adheres to the principles of Islam as a form of social responsibility. Yona Islamic Microfinance is the Islamic microfinance of choice in the Gambia, trustworthy and reliable. At Yona Islamic Microfinance, we provide savings products, current accounts, financing products in conformity with Islam. In addition, Yona Islamic Microfinance also offers local and international remittances, Takaful Fund, management of Zakat, management of Awqaf, trading and investment, and building of strategic partnerships to bring financial services to the doorstep of the poor with donor projects, madrasas, youth organizations, women groups, and farmer organizations. Make a choice with Yona Islamic Microfinance today. For more information on Yona Islamic Microfinance, call 377-2151 or 9832-151 or visit Yona head office at Tipa Garage, Bakote, or visit any Yona branch located countrywide near you.